Sun's going down. You see all that land right there? If the river has come up 4 foot from what it was 2 days ago, you can sure enough see it. 4 or 5 days ago, that land mass right there. So yeah, it's starting to reach lower levels, and this is just the beginning phases of July. So you got all of July, August, and sometimes even September. I think it was October before it started raining last year, where we started seeing any major rains. Wow. And less than 2 months ago, the river was so high, they was having problems with the barges towards it being too dangerous for the ferry to go up and down the river. So we're seeing these extreme ups and downs. That is basically an indication of what the Bible talked about, that in the last days that we will see signs up in the heavens and signs upon the earth such as humanity has never seen before. This is all verification of proof that we are definitely living in modern last day biblical Bible prophecies. And it's not just happening in America, it's happening basically on all 7 major continents, where they're having extreme weather problems of either being entirely too dry or entirely too wet. The normalcy has been taken out of the forces of nature. And I think it's because we have drained so much oil out of the ground that we have affected the ecosystem, and the earth basically is an ecosystem of itself that affects the ecosystem where the clouds are. And of course, with all the planes taking off the way that they did this weekend, people going on vacations, they brag about that on the airlines, but in reality it's actually a pitfall pertaining to bringing that much more problems in regards towards environmental changes, because all the carbon dioxide goes up into the upper atmosphere. It causes the atmosphere to get hotter. That's what causes the moisture to go up higher. The atmosphere holds more moisture because it is hotter. It takes things out of its normalcy, and that's whenever we see the big deluges or all the tornadoes that's been bad. Or you take the heat dome that recently hit just within the past 2.5, 3 weeks down in Texas, and that heat dome just set over Texas day after day after day. Well, it was the same type of heat dome that hit out in California. I remember out in California, Oregon, and up towards Washington State, and even all the way up to Alaska, where this heat dome comes out of nowhere. And I think it's the heat that's bubbling up, and you may think that I'm crazy, but I think it's the lava in the ground. You keep in mind that for thousands and millions of years, something has kept that lava alive. That lava has been fumigating and eating off of something to keep it in the mainstream of lava. Now I realize the center of the earth is full of trillions of quadrillions times quadrillions, millions of pounds of pressure. That probably is a big factor to all of that. But as we're draining the oil from the ground, it's the same thing as taking a rubber ball and draining the air out of it. The rubber ball will start getting smaller. And as the rubber ball gets smaller, it changes the contour of not only the things that's going on that we can see, but the things that we can't see below our feet. So the ground itself below our feet, God put it in line to where it's actually an ecosystem. Well, once you disturb that ecosystem, then you disturb the ecosystem between us and the atmosphere pertaining to the clouds. And if you'll compile that with all the carbon dioxide, with all the planes and all the vacationers taking off this weekend, going to their rendezvous, you have just basically put so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that it ain't even funny. You know, we talk about the ozone breaking down. The ozone breaking down, you know, they originally thought that it was cows farting, and then went from cows farting to hairspray, and then from hairspray to refrigerant that you used to put in air conditioners of R12. They changed that over to R134, and then they figured out, no, that ain't what's causing the ozone layer to break down. What's causing the ozone layer to break down is all the gases coming from carbon dioxide. So they changed the automobiles, started putting catalytic converters on them, those exhaust pipes. It's got all those pellets in it that helps to moderate the carbon dioxide going up into the atmosphere. And I do mean moderate, because it didn't stop it. But we just continued to keep doing it year after year after year. And the more of these signs that we're seeing towards, you know, just like the Mississippi becoming erratical. 2 months ago, the water was so high, it was dangerous for the tugboat drivers to be out on the river. And 2 months before that, the river was so low, they almost had to literally stop the tugboat drivers because they didn't have no water to go up and down on the river. And the Mississippi River is one of probably the 10 biggest rivers on the planet. There's several other rivers that's deeper or wider or longer than the Mississippi, but Mississippi, within the top 10, the Mississippi River is one of the top 10 rivers. And to think that this thing is disproportionately out of control, that 2 months ago the water was so high, it was causing all that flooding up towards Minnesota with all the snow melting. And then 2 months before that, the Mississippi, because of last year, the Mississippi was so low that it stopped the barges from going up and down. And the way it looks, with the water exceeding again, it looks like we're going to run into the same thing. So our futuristic planners really need to be sitting down with a pencil and itemizing towards just exactly where are the people on various continents going to get the vast majority of their water supply if we are going to live as a society. I think they're going to have to pump it out of the sea, out of the oceans. They're going to have to invent these big, humongous, whatever you want to call them, that takes salt water and converts it over to regular drinking water. But ain't no telling what that's going to wind up costing a society if we are going to function as a society. And I still believe that the only reason why that we're not seeing the same drasticness pertaining to the oceans and the seas going dry is because of the icebergs on the front, on the north end and on the south end, that once that ice becomes so small that it's no longer generating the same type of energy pertaining to the coolness. You know, it's just like having a glass of water and your ice start getting smaller and smaller to the point that you don't have but maybe a third of the ice that you did have. The next thing you know, your water starts warming up. Why does your water start warming up? Because the ice can no longer resist the forces of the heat, the heated water. So instead of the water staying cold, it starts warming up. As the water starts warming up, it starts evaporating. Same thing as taking a pot of water on a stove, and you turn the burner on it, a third of the way or halfway, and then you crank it up halfway, and then you crank it up 3/4 of the way. The higher you get the burner, the more steam comes out of the water, and the quicker that the water goes dry. So if we can't figure this stuff out as a society, and with the thermofrost basically melting in Alaska, with all the roads and the houses giving way, I mean, the triple temperatures that they recently got down in Texas pertaining to that heat dome, that was literally making roads crumble and buckle, and causing people's underpinning and stuff underneath their homes to crack and bust. Excessive heat or excessive cold can make all the difference in how things deteriorate and how they evaporate. And that's with everything. That's with metal, that's with wood, that's with plastic. People think that a battery on an automobile will go bad if it's in temperatures 25 below zero, in which it will, especially if it's not charged up like it ought to. But on the other hand, if it's triple temperatures, heat can cause a battery to evaporate, and that'll cause a battery to go bad. It's these extremes, going from one extreme to another, is what we're seeing that's doing all this. And like that guy said a while ago, that tugboat right there has to have about 9-11 foot of water just for it to be able to go up and down the water. Now it looks like to me that guy right there is probably hauling liquid. I don't know what kind of liquid that it is. Maybe oil, maybe gasoline, maybe nitrous that they spray on fields, agriculture or something. I don't know. But that looks to me like that's liquid. You hardly ever see that type of barge going up and down the Mississippi. It's hazardous, if it's what I think that it is. But they also move hazardous material up and down on interstates and highways too. Our gasoline, our diesel, our propane, all that stuff gets hauled to all these different cities and different towns, and somebody's got to truck it in wherever they're getting it at. I'm telling you, we're at least 30 years behind where we should be right now whenever it comes to alternative energy. And the Luciferian Lucifer that has deceived so many people, deceived the world, has put us in the shape that we're in right now towards seeing these environmental changes that's going on drastically all over the planet. Because there is a shortage of energy because there's too much of a demand for it. Especially in places like India, Africa, China. Some of these places has got 1 billion or over 1 billion people. And those people, once they get adapted to air conditioning, once they get adapted to heat, they don't want to freeze in the winter. They don't want to burn up in the summer. They want the same things that the modern Western world wants. But like I said, our scientist has failed us. That was generated through greed, that is just now putting an alert sign out. Danger, 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 Mr. Rogers. Well, they should have figured out 20 plus years ago, almost 30 years ago, that we was living in very, very susceptible, perilous times like we're living in right now, as far as the forces of nature being out of tune with its normalcy. Irregularities is what I'd call it. We're seeing all these irregularities with the rivers, such as the Mississippi River, and this is just one example of it going from one extreme to another. So is it possible that the Mississippi River could get almost as low, if not as low, as what it did last year? I'm thoroughly convinced of that now after coming out here and seeing what I'm seeing. With the water level being this low, that not only is it possible, but it's already done reached the level of almost probable. It's almost to the point now of being probable instead of just possible. Come out here another 30 days from now and see what it looks like then, and that'll pretty well tell the tale if we're fixing to be hit by another tugboat barge challenges like they got hit last year on the same waterway. Good luck to all of us is all I can say. Good luck to each and every one of us, because we're definitely living in modern, final, end time days. That's Kentucky up that way, and that's Missouri over that way, going west. And if you go down that way, past Dyersburg, across the river, is Arkansas. That old guy that I was talking to a while ago said the fishes quit biting. That's bound to affect Mother Nature, regardless whether it's fish, regardless whether it's rabbits, deer, mammal life, don't matter if it's whales or whatever. All these irregularities is messing with everything. I think it's one reason why that a lot of these mammals get down in the water and they get into a lot of heat and they can't get out. They get trapped, and the next thing you know, it fries their freaking brains. And that's the reason why we see 1,000 or 500 of them all of a sudden beach themselves and commit suicide. I think they've gotten down in something that's hurt them. It's affected their ability to survive, and they basically don't want to survive because they know that they're damaged. And because they're damaged, they'd be better off dead than they would be to try to rough it out or survive it in the water. Because I don't know if a lot of that stuff down there heals up like humans heals up, or like a deer or a dog or a rabbit can heal up. And of course, the older that you become, the less likely you are to heal up like you did whenever you was younger. But I don't know that mammal life heals up. I know some of it does, like tadpoles. They claim you can cut a tadpole in two, and that thing will regrow another tail. So it has abilities of doing things that not even the human race or the animal race can do. Good luck. Shalom.